standing on a broken field, white crippled wings beating the sky, the harbingers of war with their nature revealed, and our chances flowing by. If I can let the memory heal, I will remember you with me on that field. When I thought that I fought this war alone, you were there by my side on the front line.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barvé Cast, the flagship podcast of all things Barvé. I'm your host, Amaya, and I am on a mission to discover the unique tales that make each member of our family so wonderfully distinct. In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, it's easy to forget that the people we all call family are, in fact, just characters in our most extraordinary story. So every episode, we're going to sit down with a different member of the Barvé family and just have a chat, understand their journey, and get to know them better. No scripts, no filters, just genuine conversations aimed at uncovering the fascinating, the quirky, and the chaotic layers that only the Barvé family can provide. After all, what better way to honor our family than by getting to know each other just a little better? That song you've been listening to is called War by a group known as Poets of the Fall. And this song is the all-time favorite song of my guest today, Arya Vednere. So, without further ado, here is Arya. Today we have Arya. Arya, why don't we start off by some quick introductions? Why don't you introduce yourself really quickly?
Hi, I'm Arya. I am Madhushri's son. I am currently a graduate student at University of Buffalo in New York. I study mathematics. I'm currently doing my PhD in math. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Pune, Maharashtra. Yeah.
So again, just to set the stage again for those of our listeners, right? You are Madhushri's son, right? Madhushri
Yes.
is the son of the recently departed Bhai Kaka. Bhai Kaka and my father are real brothers, right? That's Vijay Kaka, Bhai
Yes.
Kaka. And I am, of course, so son of my father. So that makes me and your mom, Madhushri, as first cousins. Cool. So again,
Yeah.
welcome on the show. Are you nervous prior to being here? Have you done something like this before?
I haven't done something like this before, but I think I'm fine. This feels like a regular conversation, and
That's what I wanted it to be like. But I was just curious, like, has anyone ever interviewed you either in school or at work as, or, something as a fun thing, even when you go to a party? Has anyone ever sat down and asked you like 10 questions, or is it like really the first time and people are getting to have a Q&A session with you?
I mean, a lot of people keep asking me more about my work and
Okay.
questions like, how did you end up doing a PhD? And that's like a common question I keep getting asked, and like I have standard responses for all of those questions. But this interview is going to be a lot more, and so I have spoken to some people about my hobbies. I've spoken to a different set of people about like my work, and this is going to be sort of a collection of all those conversations into a big conversation, I guess.
So let's start. You were born in Pune. You went to school in Pune, right? Did you do your entire
I did
schooling?
go to school in Pune.
Yeah, the
Yes.
entire school, right? First to 10th, I think it is, or first to 12th. First to 10th in
First
Pune?
to 12th standard was in Pune, yes.
Okay, and which school was that?
This was in New India School. It's a lesser known school in Pune. It
Okay.
was a very tiny school. I think for example, in my class there were like 30 students, and there were like two batches. So in
Okay.
there were about like 60 kids in the same age group as me. in the school at one time. So it's like one of the smaller schools, but I liked the fact that it was a smaller school because I could um, get away with more things than more structured, bigger school, I guess.
Were in a small school. So did you ever go to like a, I know now in university, it's, University of Buffalo, and even the university even before that was much larger than that. But in your schooling, did you ever experience a larger school, or were you always in a small school for all the 10 years?
Actually, surprisingly, I was in smaller schools throughout my schooling. So, like
Okay.
in undergrad, the entire institute had only 150 students,
Okay.
and that is across all years. So it was like even like a really tiny school. And here at in grad school, there are only like what 60 odd grad students across all years because like grad programs are usually smaller. So I haven't like been in a massive school. So some of the advantages are like all your teachers like really know you personally and like know what every student is doing, which is
Yeah.
harder to get
Yeah.
in a larger school.
It's definitely more advantageous when you're in a smaller segment. You get to know each other, right? And I guess your
Hmm.
comfort seems to be in that smaller pocket, right? That's what sort of gravitates you towards that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So growing up in Pune school, did you have a lot of friends growing up? Would you consider yourself like a lot of friends, or just a few friends that you hung out with on a daily basis?
I would say in like when I was little, I used to have like only like two or three really close friends. But then when I entered like 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I had larger group of friends because I used to go to the tuition classes. So I had like a tuition classes say group of friends, and then I had a group of friends from just school, and so like the friend circle increased as I was exposed to more things, I guess. Um, yeah, and like once we were slightly in like 10th, 11th, 12th, we also had scooters and our like personal modes of transportation. We weren't like relying on our parents to go to places. So then hanging out with friends from different places like increased. So yeah,
Okay.
the social
So
circle was much nicer.
kind of started off small, but then as you became more independent, you sort of widened and
Hmm.
had more because you were more mobile, right, and independent. So okay.
Hmm.
Obviously, Madhushri is your mom. So just curious, how was it
Hmm.
like, being brought up by her? Because I know she brought you up single-handedly. She had, obviously,
Hmm.
you were living with her parents, so there's like grandparents and parents, so, and just her. So what was it like, growing up with her? Just
She had some long trips in when I was growing up. So I think the first one I remember was she had like a month long trip or so in the US when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So very little. And I still remember like I used to have Skype calls with her um, back in India. She like travel was a thing. So that at some point, like when I was in school, like there weren't a lot of opportunities where both of us were traveling. It was more of just in Pune. Growing up with her was fine. Like I remember when I was very little, I used to be slightly scared of her. But then uh, as I grew older, like I reached my rebellious phase where I was no longer scared of her. And it was
in,
um,
interesting. So like
yeah,
you were scared of her, but then I guess your grandparents were there, so they were like the less scary people,
yeah,
and then
exactly,
bad cops. The mother was the bad cop, and
exactly, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay, all right. So yeah, you lived, and I think you lived in just at one flat, right? I stayed with her
yep.
recently. I was with her at one flat the whole time.
Hmm.
So you started school. You had 10 years. I think 10 years of school. What's like the one memory of school that you still remember very fondly? Of either first grade, 10th grade, and anything in the middle.
So in my school year, so this is actually not a memory from school, but I in eighth standard I joined this coaching institution called M Prakash Academy, which is in theory an IIT JEE coaching institution, but not really. So this this person, M. Prakash, is like this really fiery dude, and I was in eighth grade, and I like by at that point I didn't really like math, so I
So you
was
did not.
only
Okay.
I totally did not like math. I was only like learning maths because my mom was telling me to, and there were many instances where my mom was like annoyed at me for not being able to do simple math. So then I met this, like, I started going to this coaching institute, and this guy was like a fiery dude. He was like, um, everything your teachers are telling you is a lie. Like, you should always question what they're trying to tell you. And like, he had firstly, he had a lot of interesting math to say, but he also had like, like ways to make us more independent. So one of the examples was he, for while coaching us for a particular examination, he realized that all of us have schools in the morning, and we have like random coaching classes and sports and other things that go on in the evening. But we all want to meet up every day to study for this exam. So let's just meet at night. So the class used to start at like 10:30 p.m. and go until 1 a.m.
Wow.
Just so he was like very eccentric, and um, like that really radically changed my thoughts about math. And like I was like, yes, I'm doing this like brave fancy thing that no one else is doing. I want to keep doing this, and that sort of got me hooked onto math. And like when I enrolled into that academy, I think that was a big personality change for me, and I think that was a big moment.
So interesting. So it is mostly because of this person that your mindset on math changed and you began to like math and you began to have more of an interest in math, right?
Mhm.
Are you still in touch with this person?
I still am in touch with this person. Definitely, every time I visit India, I try to schedule a meeting with him. He is now old, so he doesn't teach students himself, but the academy is still going on, and it's still fun to chat with him.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that, right? Because relationships you form in the formative years, you sort of tend to keep for
Hmm.
your entire life, right? And the older, if the relationship is slightly older in the life, you tend to keep on to it a lot less. At least that's my experience. So yeah, I'm not surprised that this was a formative relationship. So that was the one. I think you said you were in eighth grade, sort of turned your mindset around, made you sort of start liking math, made you look at
Hmm.
math with a different mindset, and you liked it, and that took you on to college. So when you then graduated school, finished school, and then were looking at college, at that point of time, had you already decided on pursuing math, or was it still like a formative thing that was happening internally within you?
That's a great question because I knew that I liked math, but then liking math is slightly different from like pursuing a career in math because like at some point like I didn't know what a career in math could be like, and is that a reasonable thing to pursue? So in 12th standard, I attended this summer camp at Boston University. It's called Promise. So this person in Prakash told me about that this camp exists. You should try applying for it, and I applied for it, and miraculously I got accepted. So I came to Boston for a summer, and there I met a lot of like experienced math undergrads from different like fancy universities like Harvard and MIT, and I was chatting with them, and I was like, "Wow, these people are so cool. They are doing math. uh, if I can also start doing math and be like that." And that's how like I sort of got an assurance that like doing like doing being a math major is not necessarily a bad option, and you still have a lot of opportunities. And that's how I that pushed me over the edge into becoming a math major, I guess.
Interesting. So you moved, or at least you traveled to Boston when you were in the 12th grade, right? All the way to Boston.
Mhm.
Was that the first time that you were traveling overseas by yourself?
That was the first time I was traveling overseas by myself. It was
So,
a fun story. The first time I was traveling overseas by myself, I landed into at Newark Airport. It was United Airlines, and the connecting flight was to Boston. And our first flight got delayed, so I missed my connecting flight to Boston. And I was like, "Wow, this is my first flight, and I've missed my first flight. It's amazing." It worked out,
well,
but
get used to it. So delayed flights are like a par for the
Yeah.
course these days. So I just want to pull that thread a little bit more. So first, 12th grade. So how old were you? 12th grade. I'm trying to do my math, which I'm a little
It
bad
is.
at.
I was 17.
You're 17. So 17-year-old traveling by yourself, brand new country, international, going to US
Hmm.
for the first time. Was it? I'm guessing it was both scary as well as exciting, right? So I know it's been a while. So
Yes.
what two facets still do you remember? Do you remember it being scary? Do you remember it being exciting, or do you remember it being a bit of both? What stands out to you now from that trip that you took?
Um, a bit of it was a combination of scary and exciting, I guess. In the scary part, so firstly, I did not have US phone number. I did not like so I did not have as much money. So I was it was scary because like I there were all these American people who like the American kids who came to the camp sort of like knew each other from different places. So they already had their friend circles, and I had to like go in there and try to be like them. And at first, no one understood my accent, so it was like I'm trying to communicate with these people and get to know them. But it was also exciting because like all the things that you see in movies, like the American architecture and the like the big American classrooms in universities and so on. So I was able to get a part of that and like just go out, eat a lot of like different types of food, and all like yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah, I bet. And Boston's a good city, right? Boston's a very good
Mhm.
city, big city, multicultural city. You get to experience a bit of both. Luckily, or hopefully, you got to experience it in the summer, not the winter, because
Yes, it was
yeah,
summer.
it was a summer. So now you know what winter is like. So I guess, and again,
Yeah.
my 2 cents is that if you had come in during the winter time, it would have dealt for a completely different experience because the weather is so different,
Hmm.
right? And when you're coming from India, the extreme cold is not what we're used to, right? You're
Yeah.
brown skin for a reason, right? So we don't like to be cold, but that's good. So that was a really formative trip for you, right? You had
Hmm.
what I would loosely call a mentor who recommended you go there. You did this. You took the guts to take the trip on your own. So just curious, was your mom okay with you going? Did she sort of try to stop you? Did she encourage you? What was that relationship like when you told her you wanted to go to Boston all by yourself?
So this is her take from like now. So back then she was only excited because it was sort of her dream that like her kid goes to the US and so on. But like now if you ask her, her first reaction was like, oh yeah, let him apply. He's not going to get in. That was her first thought when she encouraged me to apply. And then I did the interview and I got accepted. And she was like, wow, I guess she's going. And like she definitely was scared. I think her primary worry was that I lose my passport. And luckily, I did not lose my passport.
No, that's good. And it's okay to have lost your passport because if you have lost your passport, you will learn how to go apply for a new one in a brand new country. And that's his own experience. So,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have worried about that. But yeah, so overall, I think she was okay with it. Kind of sounds
Hmm.
like she wasn't sure you were going to get in. So she wasn't even thinking of you going because she wasn't really sure. But at that time, I guess she was supportive of you going, right?
Yeah, it happened really fast. Like the interview for this camp was in May, and I like flew to this camp by end of June. So it was
Okay.
like there was not much time where we had to process.
Right. So, so you were there in short amount of time, and then I guess to you that was the introduction of potentially what mathematics could offer you beyond school, right? Is that when you seriously thought of
Mhm.
pursuing mathematics like as a area of study? Would that be the one of the things, or what because
Yes,
beyond that we went to college,
yes.
right? So can you talk to me about what the journey was from that camp all the way to you sort of applying and graduating from the whole math thing? What was that journey like?
So yeah, so when I went to this camp, I didn't just like I met all these undergrads who are studying math, and I sort of heard words that of things that they are studying, some topics that they are studying, and that sort of piqued my curiosity. So I now had resources. I now had friends who I could talk with about math, and I had different books I should be reading and different, like, I had more guidance. So after that, like when I got back to India, I sort of had a clear idea of what I want to be studying the rest of the school year, and then I just kept going through the textbooks that were recommended and just kept doing my own thing. So after that, like that sort of gave me a clear direction in what I wanted to study, and then I just went home and sort of studied things on my own, I guess. And so since that point, for the next 5 years or so, every summer I have been going to this camp at Boston University, and every summer I used to meet new people, learn new topics, and then go back to India and learn more things. So this also helped me all through undergrad in figuring out what kind of math I like.
No, that is such a good experience, right? Not only are you going there to give knowledge or getting knowledge in return, you're experiencing a different country, which I think as you travel more and more, I'm guessing you steadily got more and more comfortable with the country, right? Because culturally, it takes a while to adapt to any country, but those repeated travels helped you in more ways than one, right? You got education, you gave education, made you comfortable with, the US as a whole, as a country as a whole, and that sort of allowed you to think about coming here and then pursuing your master's, right? So actually, let me step back. Right? So talk to me about where you did your graduation. Which college did you graduate from?
Chennai Mathematical Institute. It's a small mathematics college in Chennai.
So that's a different thread there too, right? So this is you coming back from Boston camps, being educated, and then now you want to go to a city outside Pune for your. So was that something you wanted to do, or is it just so happened that Chennai was the place where the institute of it? Were you? I guess what I'm asking is, were you looking to get out of Pune, or you just happened to go to Chennai because the institute you wanted to go to was in Chennai?
That's a good question. If I'm thinking now that if so I primarily wanted to go to this place because a lot of my friends who were also into math were going to this place. So I had heard that this was sort of like, if you want to study math, then this is the place to go to. That is what I had been told. So that's how it went. Now, at that point, I was not thinking about whether it's Chennai or Pune. But if this place was just in Pune, and I might still just have gone to this place. So I don't think it.
Okay, no, that's good. But at least you know what you wanted, right? Your mindset. This is what I want to be. It just happens to be in Chennai. So Chennai. How long were you in Chennai for that undergrad course? Or how long did you spend there?
It was a 3-year course. I was there for 2.5 years because COVID, and last semester was online.
Okay.
But I graduated in COVID.
You graduated in COVID, so you're a COVID graduate. Okay. And Chennai, again, vastly different culturally to Boston and Pune, and I'm sure you experienced Mumbai too, right? So Chennai must have been culturally very, very different too. So what do you remember the most, or what stands out to you from the 2.5 years you spent in Chennai? Were you living by yourself, or were you living in a hostel, or what was?
I was living in a hostel. So I was living in a hostel. It was like very far from Chennai, the city. So it was sort of like a bubble where there were like some restaurants and things nearby, and most of the time we spend in the hostel or going to nearby places. One of the things I noticed that Chennai had a really good public transport system, and all their bus attendants and shopkeepers, everyone knew English. So I didn't feel like I'm in this different state where I don't know their language. So like more people there spoke English than Hindi. So it was very easy to get around Chennai without knowing Tamil.
Interesting. And you feel if the roles were reversed, if someone from Chennai was in Pune, he would not have that good of an experience, right? Because Pune is, you definitely need to know at least Hindi or Marathi. English is not as commonly found, especially in public transport, right? So that must have been a really positive experience. Yeah, I feel like at least I found that if you can communicate with the locals, if you go to a different place, it just makes for a so much better experience, right? So
Yes.
Cool. So you were there for
Yes.
2.5 years. You did the last 6 months remotely. So were you back in Pune, or were you doing it remotely in your hostel from Chennai? What were the last 6 months like for you?
I was back in Pune. The last 6 months were very chaotic. I was like, so the last 6 months was like I knew that I'm going to University of Buffalo for grad school, but in March, COVID was announced, and everyone sort of just went back home, and we were sitting there. And the visa offices were all closed, so I wasn't able to come to Buffalo in August of 2020, which is when I was supposed to have started. I joined Buffalo in January 2021 because of the delay.
Obviously.
Those 6 months were kind of haphazard. um, I had 6 months of not knowing what to do. I was just studying on my own or just hanging out at the house. It was sort of like an extended vacation.
That's what it was like for most people studying in COVID, right? So, but good, it sounds like it was a small hiccup or a speed bump. You managed to navigate it, applied for Buffalo, then you appeared in Buffalo. So, did you land in Buffalo bang smack in the middle of winter? Was that when you first landed in Buffalo, or did you at least have some
Oh,
spring?
I have
No.
a I have a good story about this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. So, what was it like when you first landed in
Uh,
Buffalo?
so so I got before I had come to Buffalo, I had come to Boston for 4 times or so. So I was like, oh, coming to the US easy. I've done this. It's going to be fine. First assumption, there's going to be free open Wi-Fi anywhere, so I don't need to get a SIM card. I can just go there and figure it out. Which is true in Boston. You can find like open Wi-Fi at so many places that you can get around without a SIM card. Secondly, oh, I can just get to the airport and call an Uber, and that's that. So I came to the airport, and it was around like 3 a.m. or so. First, tried to go to Uber. I was not able to find any cabs. So I went to the airport cabs, and I was like, I told them the address, and said, okay, take me to this place. It case in point, like just there was a lot of snow, and it was like very cold, and I had a jacket that I had bought in India, but it was still not enough for Buffalo cold. But anyways, so I tell this airport cab that I want to go to this place, and he takes me to a place, and I get off, and I have like four big suitcases, only to realize that it's not the correct place to have landed. So I knock on the door, and I tell them, "Hey, is this where I'm supposed to be?" And they're like, "Oh no, that place is very far from here." And I asked them, "Hey, can you call me a cab? I have cash. I had some cash with me. I can pay you. You should. Can you call me a cab?" They were like, "Yeah, fine. Just wait outside. The cab will be here in 20 minutes," and so on. So I was waiting. There's no cab. Then I knock back after like 20, 25 minutes that, hey, did you call a cab? They're like, oh yeah, the cab is coming, don't worry, just wait 15 more minutes, he'll be here. I waited some more, no cab. So then I sort of dragged all my suitcases to a nearby 7-Eleven, and I was like, hey, I need a favor. I need to use your cell phone. So then I called my friend from, called a friend who I knew who was also from India, that, hey, this is the situation, here's where I am, come pick me up. And then he got a cab and picked me up and so on. So yeah, that
Wow.
was a very exciting.
Very exciting first day. Welcome to Buffalo, right? Kind of a thing. So
Yeah,
how far from where you were supposed to go did the cab driver drop you off? Was it like 10 and 15 miles, or just like 2 or 3 miles from where you? How far away was he?
it was it was at least 15 miles. So the idea
No.
is like I was supposed to be dropped at 25 Springville Avenue, and he dropped me at 25 Springfield Avenue.
Completely different
And
address. I totally understand. Okay. Well,
yes,
interesting first day at Buffalo for sure. But you're there and you like it.
yeah,
So tell me, what's it like to how long you lived in Buffalo now?
I have been here for 3 years now. I think it's the best city in the world. I would be very happy to just live here all my life.
Okay, that's good to hear. So in spite of that, a little bit of a hiccup when you landed. Sounds like it has grown. So what do you like? I know you're a student, so I'm guessing you're probably habitating mostly where students go. But what is it that you like about Buffalo? I mean, I know you're not going to say the cold because very few people say I like Buffalo because of the cold weather. What do you like about Buffalo?
Many things. So, firstly, the food here is really good. For example, buffalo wings, invented in Buffalo. Niagara Falls is nearby, so anytime you want to try to convince someone to visit you, you can just be like, "Hey, come visit me. We'll go to the falls," and that's a big selling point. Um, American football, Buffalo Bills culture is really big here, and it's very hard to not follow football when you're in Buffalo. Um, yeah, it's a really, I think it's a perfect in between a big city and a small town where you have all the good things that a big city should have. You have all the things you want to do, but there's also no traffic. There's never issues with parking and stuff like that. So there's like a lot of open space and gardens and stuff.
It's a very, very interesting way you described it. It's like it's the perfect midpoint between a big city and a small city. I guess I never thought about that, but it makes sense, right? You say you get the benefits of both. You get the benefits of being in a small city, but also you get the benefits of being in a big city and when you're not far from everything. So yeah, it's a very interesting way of looking
Mhm.
at it. So how's your friend circle like? Do you have a lot of friends, or do you have like just two or three friends from college? What does your social life look like?
Uh, my social life is currently pretty active. I go to the department every day and spend most of my time in the department. So I am hanging out with a lot of grad students all day, every day. Um, in the evenings, I'm currently big into Ultimate Frisbee. So I found some Facebook groups where we just do pick up Ultimate Frisbee games like 3 times a week. So that's another place where I meet new people. And I also really like my roommates who are, I have 3 roommates. We all met because we were all math grad students and we also mutually loved board games. So we have a big collection of board games in our house and we have like impromptu board game nights almost every other evening. It's very fun.
Interesting. So, what's your favorite board game so far that you guys end up playing a lot?
Um, so some of that one favorite board game is a hard question. I can tell you top three.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so Terraforming Mars is one of the board games. Sight is another board game, and I would say Tyrants of the Underdark. Roughly, these are all very similar themes. They are worker placement and also deck builder. So you are in each turn, you're collecting some cards, placing some workers, and expanding your territory to get more points, and so on.
So, sort of like again, I'm embarrassed to admit that I never played any of those three games you mentioned. Haven't even heard of those three games you mentioned. So no harm raising my hand and saying I don't know. But the genre you talk about sounds like Settlers of Catan. Would that be a close enough approximation of
Yes.
how? Okay.
So I
Okay.
would say the worker placement aspect is like Risk, and
Okay.
the like Settlers of Catan is where you like gather resources to do things. Here, instead of gathering resources, you're gathering cards, and you're building up a deck from which you draw cards and play cards and get
Okay.
more cards and so on.
Yeah. And I played Risk a lot when I was growing up. That was my favorite board game when I was playing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like to think I'm a board game aficionado, although I haven't really played many board games recently. But yeah, those three games were alien to me. So yeah, so I wanted to pull on that thing about board game because I thought that was one commonality we had. But then just roll it back a little bit. You
Mhm.
mentioned Ultimate Frisbee, right? So I don't know many people
Yes.
who play Ultimate Frisbee. So what got you into this game? First of all, so I'm pretty sure for the some of the listeners of this recording who are in India may or may not even know what Ultimate Frisbee is. So why don't you just describe what that is and then tell us how or
Mhm.
what aspects of it attracted you to it and what made you start playing it?
Okay. So first, let me give you a spiel of what Ultimate Frisbee is. It is a team sport. There are two teams. In a field, you play in a field. There are two end zones, and the goal of a team is to pass the frisbee among your teammates and catch it in your end zone. So you start on one end zone and you throw passes to your teammates until one of your teammates catches it in the other end zone, in which case you get a point. The other
Okay.
team is trying to defend. So you're not allowed to run with the frisbee. If you have the frisbee, then you're stopped at a point and you're waiting to pass the frisbee to someone. If the frisbee ever hits the ground, or someone from the opposing team catches the frisbee, or like hits the frisbee to the ground, then possession changes, and now they have the frisbee, and now they want to pass it to your end zone, and so on. So that's how the gameplay proceeds. In practice, I like this game. So I got into frisbee primarily because I like to watch how a frisbee flies. Like throwing a frisbee is very aesthetically soothing to me. You can throw it in many different ways, and um, this was like I just it was love at first sight. Started I first started throwing a frisbee in Boston at that summer camp, but then I just wanted to do that over and over. Um, in in practice, it involves a lot of running, and there are more skill versions of this game. But that's Ultimate Frisbee.
No, yeah, that's good. I mean, I've tried to throw frisbees and it looks easy, but it's not. It's a really hard thing to
It
throw.
definitely is hard.
It's hard. It's a way. I mean, when you look at it, you know, well, what's it like? You're throwing a plate around, right? But it's all in the wrist. It's all
Hmm.
in the motion. You know, there is a angle, the flight to be taken off. There's the curve. You're passing it to some people, so it takes a lot of practice, right? So, how long do you like? Do you practice
Hmm.
on a regular basis? I'm guessing you do, right? So, how much do you practice? Are you part of a league or are you just playing socially? So, I guess the question is twofold. One is how long do you practice, and then when you actually play, do you play as part of a league, or is it just like a gully cricket or a gully frisbee kind of a thing?
I have been playing Ultimate Frisbee for okay. I first played Ultimate Frisbee in 2016, so I think 7 years ago now. That was just at this summer camp. Back in India, I didn't get many. I wasn't able to convince many of my friends to also play with me because, like, you really need a group of people to play Ultimate Frisbee. So that sort of dropped down. But then when I got back to the US, I got back again into Ultimate Frisbee. I'm currently playing part of a league. It is sort of recreational. It's not super serious, but there still are games that are every like 3 times a week. We like all teams meet up and you play, and this is all late evenings so that people finish work and then come play frisbee. I primarily am doing it just so that I'm getting enough exercise and I like throwing frisbee, but yeah, it's very fun.
No, that's good. But I can imagine being in Buffalo, there's just, you know, you can only do it during certain parts of the year, right? I can't imagine. Or do you actually play Ultimate
Yes.
Frisbee when it's cold, or do you? Or are you limited to like just the
Uh,
spring to fall kind of
there's
a time?
some indoor
Oh, indoor. Yeah, I should have thought of that.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Yeah, okay, yeah.
there's some
So
indoor
that,
facilities that people book for league events specifically. Yeah.
so that's good. So you sounds like this is something you can do throughout the year, right? So it also sounds like you found like a good
Hmm.
sporting passion. That's good because you know, in India, for all its good things, is not really a culture that uh, promotes sports as something you need to do. Sure, you run around a little bit, but
Hmm.
even only recently do you is cricket looked at like a profession, like others not so much, right? So there's all more
Hmm.
emphasis given on education. So I'm happy to see that you've sort of expanded from that and are learning a game that is you know, unique, not unique to India, I would say. So that's awesome, and it's a good thing that you can play with it the whole year round, right? That's the other thing. So that's awesome. So I think that's good. So I think what we'll do next is we'll just swap threads for a little bit now. This is all again in the spirit
Hmm.
of getting to know you better. So I'm just going to ask you a series of either or questions. And again, there's nothing
Hmm.
embarrassing in them. I'll give you a choice. You give me an answer. I might pull on the thread a little bit just to dive into that, but that's all it is, right? So
Hmm.
let's start with first one. Okay, so iPhone or Android?
Android, 100%.
Android, 100%. Okay. What's your latest phone of choice? What phone do you currently use?
Pixel. I am very pro Pixel just because it looks cleaner.
Okay. So not like the Samsung UI, or more of the authentic, clean Android experience that Pixel gives you, right? Not,
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
do you find yourself upgrading often, or when do you like it? Are you like the one of those that need the latest phone every year? So now Pixel 6a, Pixel 7's out. Do you find yourself upgrading to that, or
Mhm.
is it like, okay, my phone's about to die, I need a new phone, let me go find the latest Pixel? What's it like? What's the cadence like for you?
I feel so right now I'm on a student budget and I keep my phone as long as possible. I feel that like in the future when I start making more money, I could see myself updating my phone more regularly
Okay, that's
just
yeah.
for
Student
something.
budget is, yeah, absolutely, that's fair. Okay, cool. All right. Next question: beer or wine?
Mhm.
And I think one of the things I should have mentioned
Beer,
is that,
100%.
okay, 100% beer. I was going to say that the next sort of questions, if I give you an odd, you have to pick one of the two. You can't say pass or none of the two. And I realize you ask this question if you don't drink.
Hmm.
But beer or wine, you like beer. So do you have what kind of beer? Do you like pale ales? Do you like lager? Do you like wheat beers? Do you like flavored beers? What's your poison?
I like IPAs, and one of the reasons I would prefer beer or wine is okay. Two reasons. Firstly, I think wines, most of the wines are too sweet for me, and secondly, um, it is much easier to be a beer connoisseur than a wine connoisseur, just because being a beer connoisseur is cheaper, and I primarily like IPAs that are more citrusy and like very hoppy IPAs. That's
Okay.
my drink of choice.
Okay. Are there any local breweries in Buffalo that you're rather attached to or fond of?
Buffalo has two bigger local breweries. I have my favorite drinks from both of those breweries. They I haven't actually visited them, but I yeah, it's still a nice city. I was in Vermont this past summer for a different math summer camp, and Vermont, Burlington in particular, has a whole bunch of really nice breweries, and we were able to sample a whole bunch of different beers from those
Okay.
breweries.
Um, Next question: WhatsApp or any other messaging app?
I would say Facebook Messenger, just because a lot more of my friends are use Facebook Messenger. I think currently WhatsApp is only used by family members and other people I know from India, while all my American slash European friends are more likely to use Facebook Messenger.
Can I just say I am so surprised to hear that, because my experience with Facebook in general, like the whole Facebook ecosystem. Again, I know WhatsApp is part of Facebook, but the Facebook Messenger ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
is Facebook is for the old people, right? And when I say old people, even one generation above me, right? So to
Yes.
hear that
Yes.
you are finding, so maybe it's like a circular loop coming back where Facebook is so detested by my generation, but for the younger generation like yourself, it's good. And now, okay, let's find a new thing. So I find that fascinating. But yeah, that's very interesting that you guys are actually on, you young guys are actually on Facebook messaging. That's just very fascinating for me. So very similar.
I think that's funny.
Go ahead.
So I like I feel so people in my generation definitely use a lot of Facebook Messenger, but one generation below me, so kids who are currently in school, do not use Facebook Messenger, and they're now like more Snapchat and Instagram kind of people. And like so, it is surprising to me that like people younger than me are no longer using Facebook because growing up, I felt like Facebook was the go-to social media platform.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So it sounds like it's skipping generations, right? Every alternate generation seems to
Yeah,
rediscover Facebook. I think we can have an entire podcast dedicated to that. So,
exactly.
when you mentioned your younger generation, and which leads me to my next question: TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram primarily because I don't use TikTok. And B, the only reason I use Instagram is because a lot of comics post comics on Instagram. and I like reading their comics. So I'm not big into posting pictures or posting videos or snaps or any of that sort. So like my primary use case is looking at comics, which is what Instagram is good
Interesting.
for.
So you don't, okay, so you don't really post, but you're using it to consume more than post the Instagram. Right? Okay. So it is speaking of comics, the very next question is book or a movie?
Movie, just because it's shorter. I feel if I was reading a book, I would get like I get very hooked on to something. So like if I want to start it, then I want to finish it. Then so I would then just like if I start a book, then I would just spend hours trying to finish the book, and that takes a lot more time. And the movie will consume the same story in 3 hours or shorter.
Okay. I wasn't sort of, the question wasn't like, is it a movie about the book? But it's more like, if you're giving the choice and you have free time, would you rather read a book, any book, or would you rather go watch a movie? And so you're saying because of the time thing, movie would be your preference, right?
Yes, I also just haven't been reading much these years because like I'm reading a lot of things for work, and then when I'm not working, I don't want to read anything more.
That's fair. You want to stay away from that medium because you associate that with work, right? That makes sense. So what's the most any interesting movie you've seen this year in the past couple of years? What's the most interesting movie you've seen this year?
So I've recently been getting a lot into anime or animated movies, and the most recent movie was Suzume. That was an anime movie by Makoto Shinkai that was in theaters, I think in April or May. I think it was in theaters in May, and I really liked that movie. I like the graphics and the storyline, and that's my I'm big into anime movies right now. I can give you a whole long list of a lot of anime movies to watch. But,
Is this like a recent thing, or have you always had like this liking of anime, but only now are you finding the means to watch them? Have you always liked anime, or is it like a new liking that you had?
I have liked. I think I've liked anime at least all through high school and college and so on. But like when I got to US, I had Crunchyroll as a platform that you can just subscribe to, and that you just have access to a whole bunch of anime, which I did not have in India. In India, you have to go to these different websites to try and get anime. But
yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't watch anime, but I know a lot of folks that do, so I just very fascinating. Okay, so next question, similar to the whole movie thing, Netflix or something else?
Crunchyroll, same similar response. Just goes, yeah.
And is that an anime specific thing? Is that an anime specific platform, the one that you mentioned?
Yes, it basically only has anime. And,
only has okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, just keeping to the entertainment theme, Bollywood music or English music?
English music. So I would say Bollywood music in from 2000s to 2010, and English music nowadays.
Okay.
There was an era where Bollywood music was really good, but I don't really like Bollywood music nowadays.
That's fair. Everyone's got a choice. So if you were to open up your music app on your phone right now, right, and you go to the song that's currently playing, either in pause or about to play, what song is that?
Let's see. It is currently Temple of Thought by Poets of the Fall. Poets of the Fall is currently my favorite band, and I listen to them almost all the time, and this is one of their songs.
They're a Scandinavian, right? They're a Norwegian or a Finnish band?
Yes, they're from Finland. Yeah.
Okay. I was close. So Scandinavia. So okay. I haven't listened much to them, but interesting. So okay, next one. Now this should be a little bit closer to home. So it is pav bhaji or idli dosa?
That's hard. Let's see. I would say idli dosa. And the only reason I'm saying this right now is because in Buffalo there isn't really a lot of good South Indian food. So I have been craving South Indian food for a long time now.
Okay,
And
fair enough. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Your heart wants what it doesn't get, right? So that makes sense. Okay. So here's a hot cake question, right? And you can interpret this in
Mhm.
any way you want. Zombies or ghosts?
Ghost. I
Okay.
feel zombies. If a zombie showed up in front of me, I would be very scared that it's like I think a zombie can hurt you physically, while depending on your version of ghosts, yeah, like your ghost might not be even able to touch you. So
So do you believe in ghosts then?
I do not believe in ghosts, but I also do not believe in zombies.
Okay. So then are you afraid of ghosts? You said you sort of answered that, right? If you suddenly encounter them, you would be afraid of them, or would you be more curious to know more about them?
I feel so in all the movies that you see ghosts, I feel like if I was in that exact scenario, I would like not be scared. I would just like be more curious as to what is happening and probably just freeze and not like react in the abject terror that like the actors are reacting in. If a ghost comes in front of me, I'll probably just be like, "What's happening?" and like not like run away in fear. I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. And since you are
Mhm.
a student forced to do work on your own, living in a student environment, the next question is
Mhm.
wash dishes or wash clothes?
Ho ho ho! 100% wash clothes.
Wash clothes.
Yeah,
Do not
wash
like
clothes is
touching.
easy. You just put everything. Yeah, I mean, I I'm happy to do it. It's just it feels like more work because like for washing dishes, it's not just the washing dishes part. It's like you have to wash the dishes and you have to dry them and then put them back in the appropriate places. It's like more process. For washing clothes, you put things in the like you put things in the washing machine, put things in the dryer, and when you take things off, you get these like really nice, warm, nice smelling clothes, and that gives you pleasure. But like the dish, like the end goal of washing dishes does not give me as much pleasure as the end goal of washing clothes.
I hear you, and I agree with you because one of the other things is you don't have to wash clothes every day, depending on lifestyle. Washing dishes you have to do
Yeah.
every day. Right? That thing is important. Cool. Okay,
Mhm.
so that was great. So those 10 questions, either or. So now I want to switch to a different section. So this is where the competitive nature comes in. The next section is what I
Mhm.
call you earn points based on your knowledge. And I'll use those
Mhm.
points to sort of compete against everyone else I talked to in this series, right? So I give you
Mhm.
like, I think 8 different categories, and I ask you to pick
Mhm.
one of them, but I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm going to
Okay.
ask you 8 questions total. Okay.
Mhm.
You, you then have a choice of picking 4 categories, and on which I ask
Mhm.
2 questions from each category. Okay. And you
Mhm.
get 2 points per question answered. So total of 16 points. Okay. That's the
Okay.
option one. Option two is I go through all categories and I ask you 1 question from each category, but then you get 3 points for each correct question for a total of 24 points. So do you want to go option A, which is you pick the
Ooh.
categories you like, or would you like to go option B, which is 1 question from each category?
I think I'll go option A because I think there are definitely some categories which I'm 100% sure I will not be able to answer questions from.
Arya has picked the categories of entertainment, sports, technology, and surprise. 2 questions from each and 2 points for each correct answer. Ready? And you can take your time. I'm not going to time you anything like that. You can think about it for a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's start with entertainment. Question number 1. Which movie won the Oscar for the best picture this year?
Okay, there's definitely a wrong answer, but I will say The Revenant because that's the last best uh,
Oh,
movie I remember from
yeah.
Oscars.
Yeah, Ravelan, I think was 2 years ago. This year it's Everything Everywhere
Mhm.
All at Once. That was the one. I haven't
Oh,
seen.
they did win the Oscars.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, nice.
Okay. Cool. So 0 points there. That's okay. We're just getting started. Second question on entertainment. Now, so that was more Hollywood. Now this is more Bollywood. Okay. So Shah Rukh Khan released 2 movies this year. One of them was Pathan. Can you name the second one?
Okay, I have no clue. So I'm once again going to guess the last movie that I remember Shah Rukh Khan doing. This is definitely not from this year, but Dear Zindagi.
Oh, Dear Zindagi is like at least 10 years ago. That was with Arya Vednere. No, his movie this year is Jawan. So I don't even know if you heard of it.
Oh, Jawan was Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah. Okay, so 0 points in entertainment, right? So now maybe you're rethinking how you should must have tried your luck at all the categories. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's move on to sports now. Okay, so this one should be really easy. Where are the next Summer Olympics going to be held?
I would say London 2024.
No, London was I think London was 2012. Next year it's Paris. It's Paris in 2024.
Oh, it's Paris.
Yeah, it's Paris.
Wait, and is Moscow the 2028?
I don't know what's in 2028. So you can't ask me questions. That's the way it goes. Second question. Who won this year's Tour de France? And you can either give me the name of the cyclist, or you can give me the name of the team that he represents. You can even give me the country he comes from. I'll accept anything. Because I know it's very specific. We don't like cycling, but Tour de France is the biggest cycling event, right? So
Yes. I will say Lance Armstrong is too old for this. So not Lance Armstrong. But I would guess.
Sorry?
That's not my guess. My guess is, let's see. I would say America for the country.
For the country, surprisingly, if you look at Tour de France and if you discount Armstrong's victories because he was doped up, the last time an American won Tour de France was in 1990 something when I forget the guy's name, but yeah, there hasn't been an American winner. This year's winner was Norwegian Jonas Vingegaard from the Jumbo Visma cycling team. But yeah, it just stood out because he beat the period. Okay, and then 0 point for sports. Okay, let's now move on to the next, which is technology. So hopefully this should be right up your alley. Okay, true or false?
Let's see.
True or false? Bitcoin is the same as blockchain.
False.
Okay, good. 2 points there. Finally, seeing in technology or math, so this again might be very close to you. What does GPT in ChatGPT stand for?
Oh, interesting. I would say something technology. Let's see.
So that technology was still incorrect. The T does not stand for technology.
Oh. I have no clue, so I'm going to make something up.
Okay.
General processing training.
Very, very close. It is generative pre-trained transformer. Generative pre-trained transformer, right? It's all math models thing. You're reading them on math models.
Nice.
Cool. Okay, so you're still on 2 points in technology. So now let's go to the last category, which is a surprise category. The surprise category that I've chosen for you is the Barvé family. So I'm going to ask you some questions about the Barvé family, and they're all in names. So can you name Rima's daughter?
Let's see. Short answer is no.
No.
And I guess I shouldn't try to make up names for this. So yeah, I guess.
No, that just tells you should be there, because I wouldn't have known if I hadn't met her too. So I just sort of throw in there. Something a little bit. So the next question, something a little bit more recent, right? You know that Rohan and Ankita are getting married in December. You probably heard of that, right?
Mhm.
And I'll throw you a bone here, right? This is actually a total of 2 points, but I'm willing to give you 4 points for this. If you can name
Mhm.
fiancés, 2 points for naming Rohan and Ankita's fiancés, whom they're going to get married. 2 points for each.
Let's see. Ankita's fiance, I definitely. Oh wait, no, I saw a Facebook post recently. Let's see. Uh, I saw a Facebook post recently. Let's see. I should remember this. Um, okay, does it start with N?
Whose fiancé? Ankita's fiancé?
Ankita's fiance.
No, it does not start with an N.
Okay. Uh, I think I'll skip again.
Just keep going.
I don't
Okay.
want to do this.
Yeah. So, obviously they're going to hear it, so they are not going to like you not knowing the name. So I think
Mhm.
immediately after you should post a message to just congratulate them, just so that they know about you. Rohan's fiance is Trishala.
Mhm.
I think it's Trishala. And Ankita's
Mhm.
fiance is Harshit. So
Mhm.
yeah, you got a grand total of 2 points, but at least you got on the board. So that's one good thing
Mhm.
I can tell you. I'm
Yes.
going to try and keep the questions same sort of hardness just to make it
Mhm.
competitive. But yeah, cool. So I think that was good, right? This was the competitive part. So we are coming to the end now,
Yeah.
right? I know we've been talking for a while. So now I'll just last couple of sections. I'll just ask you just like the either or questions. I'm going to ask you some yes no questions. There could be some sense of embarrassment in here, but I'm not going to pull the thread.
Mhm.
I ask you a question, you say
Okay.
yes or no, and we move on. No judgment, no pause. Other people will
Okay.
be here, ping you, ask you details, but I'm not going to. Okay? All right.
Mhm.
So here we go. Question number 1. Have you ever faked sick from work? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever smoked a cigarette?
No.
Have you ever spent a night in jail?
No.
Have you ever cheated on a test?
Yes.
Have you ever peed in a pool, swimming pool?
No.
Have you ever been in love?
Yes.
Have you ever marched in a protest?
Yes.
Have you ever recycled your underwear? And by that I mean wore them again without washing.
Yes.
Have you thrown up on someone?
Not that I remember. I don't. So
Okay.
no.
Okay, no. Then the last one is, have you ever lied to a friend's parent to save the friend from trouble?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, everyone's answer to that should be yes. Yeah, so that was 1 to 10, a quick questions, 1 to 10. So I think that's pretty much it,
Mhm.
right? I think you've told a lot about your interests, your school, your college, what you do. The either is really good. So now I'm going to give you the floor and talk to you about your Barvé cast challenge, right? So if there was one
Mhm.
person from this extended family that you would want to appear on a recording like this, who would that be?
Mhm. I would like Atul Zog to be the next person because I really so he always has like a lot of like very interesting thoughts and ideas and discussions, and I think like whenever he has like a lot of debates in Barvé gatherings and so on, those are like sort of like my favorite parts of these parties where we go into a big philosophical discussion about different things, and I think like I would like to see him on this podcast.
Okay, well, Atul, if you're listening to this podcast, you are next. Again, no promises to you. I don't know if and when I can get him because he's obviously busy about to marry
Hmm.
his younger daughter, but I'll try, right? But related to that,
Hmm.
just so that he can start to prepare for this podcast, if there was one question you could ask him, what would that question be? What would you like to ask Atul?
Hmm. Um, I would say I would like to ask him how he got into mindfulness because I know he has been talking to my mom at least a bit about mindfulness, and I want to know how he like got into learning more about this in the first place.
Okay, so that is a question I have noted. Now he has ample amount of time to prepare for it, so I can't see prepared. So Atul, though, you are on the hook, and I'm going to try and get you again, not next, but I'm going to try and get you sometime. So, one last thing before we go, where can the listeners find you? If they want to reach out to you, obviously they have your number on WhatsApp, but I know you're on Facebook. So,
Hmm.
where can they reach you?
I think calling me on WhatsApp or texting me on WhatsApp is the easiest way to reach me.
Is
And
easiest way to reach
yeah,
you. Okay, awesome. Arya, I can't thank you enough for giving me this time. I know it's never easy to open up about yourselves. Can't thank you enough. Hopefully, this was fun experience for you. I learned a lot about you, and which was the whole
hmm,
point of the show. But I hope it was a fun experience for you, and thanks a lot for coming on.
thanks for having me. This was also a very fun experience. I really like how much thought you have put into this, and this was very well organized. And thanks so much for this. Yeah.
And that's a wrap for today. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing more stories from more members of the Barvé family in the future. Until next time, this is your host Amaya saying bye for now.
White crippled wings beating the sky, the harbingers of war with their nature revealed, and our chances flowing by. If I can let the memory heal, I will remember you with me on that field. When I thought that I fought this war alone, you were there by my side on the front line. When I thought that I fought without a cause, you gave me a reason to try. Turn the page, I need to see something new. For now my innocence is torn. We cannot linger on this stunted view, like rabid dogs of war. I will let the memory heal. I remember you with me on that field. When I thought that I fought this war alone, you were there by my side on the front line. And is like moving in slow motion, and we're already too late if we arrive at all. And then we're caught